Welcome back to Ask Ronan Turbo Monday, where I try and plow through as many questions as I can for you guys in 5 minutes. So let's dig into your questions. All right, 5 minutes on the clock. Let's get going right now. So Steve writes, and he's got a question. I use Magic AB for referencing. How can I get the most from using reference songs? And do you have any favorite songs you use to reference for certain things? So absolutely, I do have favorites. And probably my one reference record is Trouble at the Hen House by the Tragically Hip. I listen to that in playback systems all around the world. It helps me learn whatever studio that I'm working in. But yeah, I absolutely change depending if I'm working on a rock project or a folky thing. I always, especially when I'm feeling not too sure about my own decisions, I like to pull up references that I know really, really well that I can start to make decisions on. And the thing is, I'm not looking to try and sort of make my mix exactly like those other references. The important things are these are references I know really well. So I can listen to a mix by some great mixer like Andy Wallace or Tom Lord Alge or Bob Clearmountain and know exactly, oh yeah, this is how far the vocal sits forward. This is how far it sits back. So if I go and compare my mixes to those, it kind of gives me a reference like a North Star to sort of know where I'm mixing. So the important thing is to get a few mixes that you know extremely well inside and out. And that'll give you a really good reference to know where you are in terms of your own mixes. This next question is a little tough to answer in a short period of time, but I'm sure you get this question a bit. But do you think you need to attend audio engineering school to make it professionally as an audio engineer? I certainly hope that's not the case, or I'm going to get kicked out of this business. There are tons and tons and tons of great successful engineers that did not go to recording school. Recording school is just one other option for you to learn stuff, a way to gather knowledge. Not saying it's the best or the worst, but absolutely. If you develop the skills, develop your knowledge, make good interpersonal connections, you can absolutely have as good a chance as anybody of succeeding in this business without going to recording school. And if you do it without going to recording school, you probably get to move forward with a whole lot less debt than the people who did go to recording school. Of course, you need to come to recording boot camp, but I'll forget that one. The next one here, so Marika asked, she'd actually been to one of my boot camps, and she said she's heard me before, don't record hot, don't record hot. But she's wondering, how low is too low? If we record too low, is it going to get us in trouble? If we record too low, the answer is yes. But that number of too low is way, way lower than people think. The reality of all this stuff is if you record and your peaks are up like, -10, you're fine. -20, you're fine. -30, you're fine. Truth is, even if your peaks are up around -40, you're actually not going to get yourself in trouble. That's not the perfect case scenario. I would much rather have something that was recorded where our peaks were at like -40, -30 than something where the peaks are up slamming and clipping or even getting close to clipping. Because even when we record with low levels down at 30, we still have more range and detail than a 16-bit recording, and countless great, amazing records were recorded and or mixed down to 16-bit audio format. So if we record at the level of a commercial audio CD, that's not really a bad thing that is going to come back and get us into trouble. All right, so Aaron writes, and somebody else asked this question too recently. There's been a big thing going around that you should mix in mono a lot. And do I think that's a good idea or a bad idea? Multiple people have asked me this. And I think it's a fine idea. In my own personal workflow, I actually like to switch back and forth. I will, let's check the clock. Yeah. So I mix back and forth. I will listen in stereo, listen in mono, listen in stereo, all throughout. I've got a Crane Song Avocet 2 for my monitor control with a mono switch on it, and I'm always switching back and forth. The great thing about mixing in mono is it piles all this stuff on top of each other, and it makes you work harder to make and go maybe even a little further to make sure all of the elements have their own space and detail in the mix. So if you can get things to play well together, In mono, they're very likely to sound even better once you blow them out to stereo. And you don't need to worry about them getting too wimpy or thinned out if you've got a big bass, because having a big bass in there, even if we pan it right in the middle, is actually going to feel pretty full, rich, and mono across the field because of how omnidirectional bass frequencies are when we hear them in the room. So that's our 5 minutes and 7 seconds. I hope this helps a little bit. And again, I keep doing this if you keep sending me questions, so go to recordingbootcamp.com/ask, and I will do my best to every Monday get 5 minutes of answers for you here on my YouTube channel. So subscribe there. All right, thanks guys.